Imagine you're driving your family doing 106 kilometers per hour in the fast lane of a busy, active motorway. Music is on, you're driving really nicely in the fast lane, and then without any warning at all, your car literally loses all ability to do anything. So it slams the brakes on as hard as it can, brings you to a halt, it won't let you steer the car, and it won't keep going at all. It just blocks itself into a brick. No error messages, no chance to pull over, no chance to react, just straight from the highway speed to zero in the fast lane. This just happened in Malaysia. It's not the first time, actually, but it is not a good situation to be in. That nightmare happened early this year in Malaysia on the Cheras Kejang Expressway. The driver was behind the wheel of the Atto 3, and the dashcam in his car caught the entire thing. And at 21 seconds in the footage, he was still cruising. 7 seconds later, completely stopped dead in the middle of the motorway, in the fast lane. Can you imagine how terrifying it was? Families behind had to swerve, brake really, really hard, and hope that they didn't slam into the back of a stationary car in the fastest lane of the motorway, where there was no hard shoulder. The BYD completely dead. No steering, no acceleration, no ability to even roll off of the motorway as well. And when they tried to shift into neutral, the wheels literally stayed locked. The only way it could be moved was by a tow truck using wheel dollies. That's the only way they could move it. It was a big deal in Malaysia, all over the press. Hello folks, my name is Ben Alexander. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. These are the channel members. Thank you very much to them. The story has been going around the EV community, and it's raised some really big concerns about EVs and the designs that they have operating their safety features. And there's a lot of worry about whether these things can keep happening and, will they happen again? Because statistically, it's highly unlikely it will happen again. But the fact that it does seem like such a simple thing that, stopped it in the first place makes people a bit concerned, I think. So I've fact-checked everything very, very carefully, and I'll break it all down for you clearly so that you do know the facts of the story, not the hype of the story. So the first thing everyone thought when the dashcam footage went viral was, it must have been a 12-volt battery issue. They're everywhere. I still get emails about them weekly, by the way, 12-volt battery issues, especially in Toyotas. Because in EVs, the 12-volt battery system powers things like the control modules, the headlights, it controls the relays and the safety systems. For some reason, they don't just use the lithium, the big battery. If it goes flat or glitches, you can get shutdowns. This is very common. Even BYD's own service centre floated that idea for a couple of days, actually. But after 12 days of BYD investigating the car, the real culprit turned out to be something much, much smaller and a bit stranger, I think. It was a faulty driver's side door sensor. That little sensor sent the wrong signal to the car, and the Atto 3's safety protocol decided that something was really, really wrong. So the system went into full panic mode. It shut down everything. Hazard lights went on. Car activated its brakes fully, just shut it all down in the middle of the motorway. And once it locks into that mode, you can't override it as the driver. So the car basically becomes an immovable weight, basically, in the middle of the road with your precious family in. It's horrific. It's an awful story. Now think about that for 1 second. A tiny sensor in the driver's door has the power to trigger a safety chain reaction that stops a 1.5 ton vehicle from highway speed to zero in 7 seconds. One individual sensor, which is in all of these cars. This is a design philosophy question in my mind, I think, and car makers want to build very, very safe cars, so they add fail-safe systems, but sometimes those fail-safe systems can create their own dangers. And this is not the first time we've seen this. Obviously, phantom braking is another issue. In this case, what is supposed to protect the driver and his family actually put them all in more danger than they've probably experienced in any car on any road in their, ever, basically. So let's talk about the numbers. The Atto 3, when it braked, dropped from 106 kilometers per hour to zero in 6 seconds, which is a deceleration rate of 5 meters per second squared. In normal circumstances, that's basically something you'd only see in a really full-on, hard, sudden stop if somebody walked in front of the car and, to avoid hitting a pedestrian, that sort of thing. But here, it happened automatically without any input from the driver. And unlike an emergency braking situation where you can actually steer still. This is an extra layer of crappiness to the situation. The car was actually a dead weight and it locked the steering. He couldn't move it. He did say he tried, and he had no way to do any of that or even predict it. And in 6 seconds it was over. So that combination is what makes this case so alarming. BYD Sime Motors, which is the Malaysian distributor, very quickly, within a couple of days, stepped in, bought the car back from him, and they offered him a full loan settlement as well. So they gave him a car and also bought the car back from him. He did lose some money in prior installments, but at the end of the day, he took the deal because of his family's safety. He wasn't willing to risk something like this happening again. And honestly, would you be if you had lived to tell that tale? I don't think I would, honestly. Now let's zoom out for a minute. Should this one incident make people question BYD as a brand? I think it gets very nuanced here. BYD has sold over 4.27 million new energy vehicles globally in 2024 alone. The Atto 3 is one of the most popular exports sold in Australia, Europe, the UK, obviously, Southeast Asia and beyond. Statistically, EV shutdowns like this are very, very rare, but the problem is that when they do happen, the consequences are far more dramatic than, say, a petrol car stalling, because you can just roll to a halt or turn into the hard shoulder or something. If your Toyota Corolla conks out, you can roll into the hard shoulder. For example, if your Atto 3 locks its wheels at 106 kilometers per hour, you're effectively a sitting duck. That's not a good place to be. There was a case last year involving an Audi e-tron GT, the really, really good looking one, in Malaysia, where a sudden safety shutdown stranded the car in the middle of the road. The same sort of thing, but it wasn't a motorway. In both cases, the cars were doing exactly what their safety software was programmed to do. So kind of there wasn't an issue with the software. Shut down everything, prevent further risk. So the problem is the risk it creates in traffic might be greater than the risk it was trying to solve. And that's, where does this leave us? This is a tricky one, isn't it? I think this incident highlights a growing tension in EV design as cars are becoming more and more software driven with more sensors, AI, more brains, basically. More sensors and automated protocols come into play. But if one sensor fails, the system can sometimes overreact. And then when that happens at highway speeds, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a very, very serious life-threatening situation. So what is the fix here? This is obviously an interesting thing. Car makers like BYD might need to entirely rethink the logic of their shutdown protocols. A lot of you will just immediately think of some very good, obvious solutions here. So instead of a hard cutout that locks everything at 106 kilometers per hour, maybe a tiered response might be a very good thing to do. It's a very logical thing to do. For example, if the door sensor glitches at 100 kilometers per hour, please don't shut down the car and let nothing, work at all. Maybe just gradually cut the power and limit acceleration. Maybe slow the car down slowly, and so that they can turn into a hard shoulder or something like that. Give them a chance at life, basically. It also raises questions for regulators. Should EVs be allowed to immobilize themselves in live traffic lanes, or even for safety reasons? Or should laws require that cars always maintain some basic ability to roll to the hard shoulder? Should they? There's obviously some really good points to be made here. This isn't just a BYD issue. This is obviously going to be an industry-wide debate. Here's my take on it. The Atto 3's incident, very, very scary, no doubt, but it doesn't mean BYD is unsafe across the board at all. Their blade battery technology, for example, is among the safest in the industry. Their EVs statistically catch fire less often than petrol cars by many, many, many times. The company handled this case and responded very, very well, actually, by simply purchasing back the car and then giving them a loan car. But it does highlight a blind spot in EV safety design, doesn't it? Fail-safes should never create more danger than they're trying to solve. Can you imagine if this was an aeroplane, for example, or a helicopter, and it freaked out because it just saw, the door is open? For everyday EV buyers, the lesson is this, I think. Pay attention to recalls, make sure your cars are getting updates and that sort of stuff, and manufacturer advisories. Even just go to the website if you haven't seen anything. These systems are evolving very, very quickly, and glitches will happen, obviously, especially if it's a new car. and they're all basically new cars. The key is how the companies handle them, and there is probably an update to fix this, in the next couple of months, for example. What do you think? Should BYD change how its safety protocols work in its cars because of this issue, basically? Would you still feel comfortable owning an Atto 3 after hearing this story? Please let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you all think about this, especially if you're an Atto 3 driver or an Audi e-tron driver. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ben Alexxander, and I really do appreciate your time.